Hi, I'm Granny, and we're going down the rabbit hole of Plato's Allegory of the Cave. The Allegory of the Cave is considered a Socratic dialogue recorded by the Greek philosopher Plato. A Socratic dialogue is a debate or type of conversation that involves a group of people asking and answering questions to reach an agreement on a topic. How often is that happening today? The goal is to use critical thinking and personal experiences to find a universal answer that everyone can agree on. Anyway, Plato is considered the most famous student of Socrates. Socrates was a Greek philosopher from Athens, born around 470, not really sure, BC, 470 BC, but we do know the exact date of his death, which is February 15th, 399 BC, in Athens, Greece. Socrates didn't document his teachings, and maybe had he lived longer, he might have had a chance. More about his death later. Plato was one of the few people to write down some of Socrates' many teachings, which were compiled into books. The Republic is one of these books containing the Allegory of the Cave. It is a dialogue between Socrates and Plato's brother, Glaucon. An allegory is a story, picture, or piece of art that uses symbols to reveal a hidden meaning, often a moral or political one. Plato uses the story of the cave to promote his ideas about knowledge, reality, and the senses. Plato believed that the senses are unreliable and that true knowledge can only be attained through intellectual reasoning. In the story, Socrates tells the audience about a cave where a group of people are chained up so that they can only see a stone wall in front of them. Behind them is a large fire shining on that stone wall. The prisoners can't see anything behind them. They are chained and stuck looking only at that wall in front of them for their entire lives. That sounds so awful. Another group of people who are behind the prisoners move objects in front of the fire to create shadows on the wall. And we've all played with shadow puppets and flashlights. Anyway, the images on the wall are all the prisoners have to judge the world by. They give names to familiar shadows, and the prisoners come to accept the shadows as their reality. One day, a prisoner escapes and discovers a hidden path out of that dark cave and glimpses the sun for the first time. The sunlight blinds him, but soon he comes to love the sun. The shadows aren't as noticeable, and he sees things as they really are. Animals, birds, trees, bushes, water, maybe fish in the water, all kinds of creatures and bugs. Excited by this, he can't wait to tell the other prisoners. He returns to the cave and shares what he has learned. He's surprised. The other prisoners are angered by his new reality and refuse to leave the only world they know, even if it is false. For Plato, we are all trapped in the ignorance of that cave. He encourages us to develop our intellects and use them to free ourselves from illusions and sensory distractions. And think of all the sensory distractions we have today. Screen time. Plato believed that the senses are faulty and can lead to misperceptions of reality. Socrates was a Greek philosopher from Athens who is considered the founder of, it's in quotation, Western philosophy, end of quotation, and among the first moral philosophers of the ethical tradition of thought. Socrates authored no texts and is known mainly through the accounts of classical writers and two of his students, Plato and Xenophon. Plato and Xenophon include Socrates in their writings in the style of dialogues rather than quotes of Socrates. And it makes me wonder if by sharing their insight of Socrates in this way protected them from the sharing his fate, Socrates' fate. Contradictory accounts of Socrates make understanding his philosophy challenging, which is known as the Socratic problem. It appears that people either loved Socrates or hated him in Athenian society. He was known for proclaiming his ignorance, and there is more than one source that used the quote. He used to say that the only thing he was aware of was his ignorance, implying that the realization of our ignorance is the first step in philosophizing, end quote. In 399 BC, he was accused of being disrespectful of the gods and corrupting youth. At the trial, Socrates unsuccessfully defended himself. He was found guilty by a majority vote cast by a jury of hundreds of male Athenian citizens. According to the custom, proposed his own penalty that he should be given free food and housing by the state for the services he rendered to the city, or that he be fined 1 mina of silver, which is all the money he had. The jurors declined his offer and ordered the death penalty. Socrates could have asked permission to flee Athens and live in exile, but he didn't. The jurors chose the death penalty by making him drink a cup of hemlock. In my opinion, that's really gruesome. It causes violent vomiting and seizures, resulting in respiratory failure. And there's no antidote for hemlock poisoning. Even today, there is no antidote. Socrates warned jurors and the Athenians that criticism of them by his disciples was inescapable unless they become good men. Socrates spent his last day in prison. His friends visited him and offered to help him escape, but he declined. I appreciate the allegory of the cave because we each are in that cave in one form or another. I've always said that one of the hardest things to do is see ourselves in a mirror as we really are. Or now I can refer to that cave. Maybe by seeking knowledge, reality, and understanding our senses, because I trust our senses more than Plato did, we gain access to that bright sun. Thanks for spending this time with me. Please join me next time when Granny goes down the rabbit hole. Please subscribe and share. Thank you.